temperature check.
Temperature check is great. I was just sharing what Rodri was doing. The designs are for the ABC advanced page. They're great. I'll share them in the community call. Yeah, everything's going smooth. I think I'll make it to the Burning Man, so that's exciting. And yeah, nothing else to share. Yeah, I also added a topic in the agenda, so I'll talk about there. And I'll pass it to Gideon. Temperature check.
Thanks, Septi. Warm. A lot of stuff happening. Got the message token holders up yesterday. Eduardo is starting to push that out this week. Conversation tomorrow around treasury management, so that's starting to ramp up. Conversations around token utility and things like that. Also, we just did a big push on organizing the Sampa workspace in Clarity, so feels good. Feels like things are moving. I will pass it to Eduardo.
Thank you, Gideon. Maybe it's the summer, maybe it's the heat, but it feels a little bit slow over here. So kind of a slow mood lately. I don't know. I have this feeling of things progressing, but very slowly, and that's something that doesn't discourage. It just you have to sort of be patient with everything. So that's I don't know if we have lost momentum, which I guess the market. I don't know if it's the summer. I just don't. I'm not able to pinpoint what's the reason. I just feel things are quite slow around with low energy. So yeah, that's my temperature check, and I will pass it to Lauren. Maybe have you gone?
Thanks, Eduardo. Yeah, my temperature check is I don't know. Well, it's I guess warm, but I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed with a lot of things, kind of just personally, and then also within the workspace. And yeah, I also am feeling a little bit out of loop with the TEC, so I'm just also here to get a little bit more oriented into what's new and exciting. I will pass it on to Chewy.
Thanks, Lauren. Temperature check. I would say a little bit cold. I think that right now, especially in comms, we are taking a direction that still needs to be proven in a way. So yeah, it feels we're still in the middle of an evolution process, and yeah, things are not moving as fast right now. But yeah, we'll see how we can adapt to these changes in the following weeks. I'll pass it to ViV.
I think the temperature is almost room temperature. Everything is stable, but there's nothing very exciting going on. But there's no disaster, so yes, that's what I feel like. I'll pass it on to Gideon. I don't know who has read and who hasn't.
Oh, actually, Gideon, you've gone already.
Yep.
Wonka hasn't gone yet.
Thanks, Tam. Well, I'm happy because the Graviton training is ongoing. Today we have the 5th session. I will be facilitating. All of you are invited. At the same time, we will be starting the Graviton training for the Aragon community this Thursday. And tomorrow I'm flying back to Colombia. So, yeah, things are going good. I'll pass to Mitch. Did you go? Or Libby?
Libby, take it. I'm just walking in here.
My connection is really bad. I hope it can. Can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm coming back from vacation, catching up with everything. I guess it's nice to see everything is moving. And I'm really grateful for Eduardo that took SoftGov last week and presented in the community call. I feel way more energized. Thank you everyone for being patient with me last week. And I'm looking forward to catch up with everything else. And I'll pass to, well, are you ready now, Mitch?
Yeah, sure. My temperature check is tepid. I don't know. I'm like not feeling hot, not feeling cold. No progress really to report on the proposal inverter. The reward system, there's not really like any interesting action happening, and yeah, I'm not really sure what's happening with the Stewards redefinition, and so I'm just like I don't know what's new to report or what progress is being made anywhere. So pretty meh this week. Maybe I was the last one. I'm not sure.
Mert hasn't gone yet.
Thank you, Tim. So for this week, I feel kind of cold. So two-sided. For the proposed inverter, I am actually feeling very warm because, like this week, we hired a new designer doing like UI work, and also the backend development has been going on. So on that side, I'm pretty happy to move on. And Mitch also started to do documentation. Thank you, Mitch. But in terms of Omega work, like I feel kind of drained of being like have to do the management work. That's like I think we have like lots of good ideas that is going on, but we have not delivered anything yet, and I feel kind of frustrated about it. But so I will try my best to that with team together. But that's just what I feel, and I think I'm the last one.
Yeah, that's right. I might be the last one.
Oh,
I'm
sorry.
feeling pretty warm. Oh, it's okay. I'm feeling pretty warm. I'm really excited Libya's back. I'm super excited about that. I think I really missed her when she was gone. I feel like we have some really nice momentum in the Stewards. That Polis report shows a lot of like really interesting, how do I say, like groupings, and just I'm in love with Polis. I think it's fantastic to sort of get vast opinions and start to see some patterns, which is really neat. You know, it's a summer slowdown. This is pretty typical. July and August are pretty slow months. And I think that's probably a really good thing too. On a personal note, you know, my kids are leaving in 2 weeks and then they're gonna be gone for 4 weeks. So this is like my last weekend with them. And that's wearing a little bit on my mind sometimes. You know, it's like, oh no. Like these, just grab these last few moments before they disappear for 4 months. They'll be in Italy with family, so they'll have a great time. I'm not really sad about that. And I'm also looking forward to the conferences in July. So them being in Italy means I get to go to ETH Barcelona and ETH in Paris. And I'd say, yeah, I actually have like, I think things are, I see a lot of progress. We had a really good call. Gideon and Jeff and I had a really good call yesterday that made me just so excited. Again, I'm really excited about where that direction that's going, even though, you know, there's some impatience to see things right away, but I think taking time and doing things slowly and doing them right is better for the long term than sort of rushing, especially on big things like this. Cool. So thanks for all of that. I guess vacation dates. I know I messaged a few of you directly. Who's at vacation dates? Yes, Eduardo.
Did Vivi go? Oh yeah.
But thanks for looking out for all of us. So things, the vacation dates, yeah, it's just good to know when people will and won't be here. There's just a few people who haven't put anything on, and I just wasn't sure if they didn't put anything on because there was nothing there, or because they didn't fill it out yet. So I think I've pinged personally everyone who just still needs to add their dates. So Ivy asked me to share the revised covenant on Snapshot. I guess the legal team has been working on this, maybe SoftGov too. And so it is probably something you can read on the forums, but it integrates the terms and conditions of submitting and challenging proposals and other collective agreements in the TEC. Lydia, I just have one question, something that came up recently. Did we decide to add to the covenant a expiration date for proposals on gardens?
Not on gardens, but we just added the minimum time for the forum. So proposals have to be in the forum for a minimum of 5 days. We added that in this version of the covenant now.
Okay, got it. Okay, and we didn't say anything like if there's a proposal on gardens for 8 months, then it should be withdrawn. So still it's indefinite.
Yeah.
Okay, is it too late to add something like that?
I didn't hear any discussion about that, but it's I mean, yeah, maybe
Okay, no,
Ivy could, because she just posted the vote today. But it's still in time, I guess, to withdraw the vote and then add that and leave in the forum for more 5 days and then make another snapshot vote.
okay. For whatever reason, these last 2 weeks, my computer just can't handle streams anymore, and I apologize if I disappear. I hope I'm going to try not to. It came up, a few times, but I don't know. It probably conversation for revising this covenant. I think that there was, technically a proposal can sit on conviction voting forever. So I thought we had having a social agreement that if there's some time period, 6 months, year, then perhaps the proposal should just be withdrawn.
But it's
Did you say something?
Yeah, it's avoidable. Like I could remove it and then add a new one. What's the point? Like you could challenge me in the Celeste if I stick for 8 months, but you could not challenge me if I delete it and open a new one.
I guess you would have to rebuild conviction for the new one, though, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the point is like if a proposal doesn't have enough conviction after 6 months, then maybe that proposal should just be withdrawn. And eventually, these proposals will pass. It might take a year to pass or 2 years to pass, but I guess the idea is it's a signal from the community that the community is not really supporting it, and it's just a mechanism design of conviction voting that will probably eventually pass.
No. The conviction growth stops. So it's not like it's going to pass if not enough people are voting. Like if I make a proposal and I stake my token there forever, and it's only me, it's not going to pass. Like 1 million years, because the conviction growth stops.
Right, but there's some threshold by which there's like enough people, but not really community signaling support enough to pass. I don't know. I guess I don't know like what would the downside be of having a limit on the, having some sort of social agreement that it's like a year. If it doesn't pass in a year, maybe this proposal shouldn't pass. But yeah. Anyway,
I'm not sure because like I know like this proposal had some kind of the originating from Nate's proposal, which at some point was something interesting. So yeah, for me, it doesn't make sense to cap it with the covenant. Like we build and vote for those parameters. Like if we want to change, we could change the parameters, but that doesn't. I always prefer to change the code that just social agreements and stuff. I think it's better.
I mean, I guess the idea is we'd still use the design, right? We would use Celeste to challenge the proposal, and if it's in our covenant, then we could take it down, right? But if it's not in our covenant, then the challenge wouldn't be able to go through. So we'd still be using the tools that we've built, but having some human decision built into the covenant instead of into the parameters for conviction voting.
Yeah, what I'm saying, like if you don't want proposals like with a small conviction to pass, you just change the conviction parameters, right? For me, it makes more sense. Like it's more clean. Like because what if I make a proposal and then I forget? Oh, someone challenged me, and then I don't know, I'm away, and then someone is taking my money just because I forget. Like I had a proposal there. I don't think that's fair.
I'm not following that. Sorry, can you?
Yeah, like what I'm trying to say is like proposal is there, and you know, like it passed, like it passed 8 months. Now I can be challenged, and in 7 months I don't. And what if I'm just I'm on holidays or whatever? Or for me, it's better just to change the conviction voting itself, and we vote and change conviction voting if that's what we want to do. But adding rules, I think it's more gamifiable. Like what if, I don't know, like Griff has this proposal of getting his money back, all the money he put for communitas and comms, and maybe like he's a Burning Man, and then 8 months passes and then someone challenged, because for me it doesn't make sense. And it's something that's retroactive, so the job is already done.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to have more voices, or I don't know if anyone has any thoughts about it too. And maybe this isn't necessarily the right place for it. Maybe this is more for something to be brought up in SoftGov. And yeah, maybe we don't need it. But it is maybe something that could help. Yeah, I don't know. I feel for it, but it's my original thinking. I'll try to take into consideration some of the things you shared, Seth, too.
Also, just to bring this to everyone's attention, the Gardens team is like currently taking a lot of feedback like this, just like different like situations, because they are starting to develop ideas for Gardens V2. So I feel that like the conversations like this could bring a lot of insight, and instead of like trying to make decisions within the scope of what we already know, like conviction voting parameters, I feel that this feedback could open like the door to new tools within our infrastructure. So I feel that could be a great output. Like if people want to keep talking about this, I feel that bringing it to the attention of the Gardens team could be very constructive.
Yeah, great idea. Thanks, Tree. All right.
Just building on that idea, do you think it'd be worthwhile trying to convene, maybe like Livia in SoftGov or something like that, like a process for gathering what our requests, the TEC requests for gardens might be, so that we can help them to at least from our perspective, like what are the top priorities that the TEC needs?
Yeah, having kind of a ticket for governance complaints. We could open something like that. Have a form with one question that's always open, and then people can submit ideas and complaints to it, suggestions.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely lots of things that could be improved. So it would be probably really nice for them to hear a lot of our feedback too.
One other side thing with the community covenant is that, Tam, I think it was you who pointed out that people can sign the covenant by just going directly to that page in the gardens where the covenant is, and it'll prompt you to sign the covenant. And so I was looking at the number of people who've actually signed the covenant. It's pretty small. And so I think I could be wrong on this, but it seems like the only process that we have where we require people to sign the covenant is when you actually submit a proposal. And so one of the things that Eduardo and I have been talking about as part of this, like what is TEC membership, is actually signing the covenant as part of being a member. And so it turns out it's pretty easy. You can just link to that URL and it'll prompt you to sign it. So pretty easy.
Okay. Shall we keep going? I guess, Livia, are you taking on the TEC requests for gardens, consolidating it in a forum post or something where we can give feedback?
Yeah.
Okay, so the Polis report I shared on the Stewards channel was pretty, really interesting, actually. This is such a great tool. I'd say there's one thing that there are some extra questions that got added. So we have a little bit of, I guess, data. If you see there's some answers that only have like 3, or some groups that only have like 3 responses, probably ignore those because they're not a good enough sampling. But we can definitely see maybe the most divisive statement was we should have a cap on the number of stewards. It should be 5 or fewer. And there's about 30% who passed, 50% who disagreed, and 70% who agreed overall. So that's the most divisive. And then having a cap of 10 or less was pretty much split equally, 35%, 35%, 30%. So like 30% passing, and then the other remaining basically split 50-50 on which one, on whether it's good or bad. So it's just interesting in the perspective of there's like a really clear polarization, like 2 camps essentially. So one camp thinks, yes, it's a great idea. The other camp thinks, no, it's a great idea. And that's pretty interesting to see how the more divisive statements, and then there's definitely some things that we are all really aligned on. Stewards should be compensated. Of course, this is like most unanimous, except for those who abstained from answering the question. And the collective intelligence of the stewards should not be missed. It's really interesting if you want to go through and see, statement by statement. And so if we take what most of the people agreed with, it's, compensation 100%, that anyone, so only stewards representing TEC, the majority disagreed with that, which was probably expected. Stewards should not be compensated, the majority disagreed with that. And then retaining the collective intelligence of the 15 stewards who we have today. Creating an advisory board seems pretty unanimous, well, close to unanimous as well. 5% didn't think this was a good idea. So that was pretty interesting. And also, this one is interesting. New models for ensuring working group coordination that could do as well or better than what we have today. So I think that's something that's really important to consider too. How do we adapt coordination to the scale and breadth of our stewardship and working groups right now? And then they do these groupings of participants. So there's these 10 participants who all voted similarly to each other. And so they sort of pulled out the statements where they vote most similarly with each other. And a group of 7 participants. I think we're just going to ignore this group of 1 participant. It feels like that's a bug in the system. So let's just throw that away. But if we look at this group of, 10 of the 17 people, or 10 of the 18 people, most of them feel that stewards should be required to attend our weekly meetings or our stewards council. So of the 18, there's a group who feels like that pretty strongly, and stewards should be required to attend the sprint planning and the retrospective. Seems to be pretty close, with more disagreement on that one. And then stewards should be compensated for their responsibilities in the TEC. We sort of already said that one has a lot of support. 0% think no, which is a nice to know. But I guess we already knew that. And then areas of uncertainty is another area that's interesting. So this is around the responsibility of stewards to nominate other stewards for offboarding. So this is an area where a lot of people just decided not to say yes or no, but passed on these. So these are questions where people aren't really sure. So the onboarding and offboarding process is sort of like, okay, people are not really sure. Or 30% or more. In this case, it's 38%, almost 40% aren't really sure. And only a steward can lead a working group. That one also seems to have some uncertainty around it, which is interesting. Whether people have a good sense of what's needed in the future for TEC stewardship, and transforming the way TEC structures its stewardship is an urgent matter right now. Stewards should be offboarded based on their participation in the TEC over the past few weeks and months. Is also an area where a lot of people were uncertain. And in the last two, there's also a lot of support for these as well from the people who said yes. So 55% of the 18 who took this said yes. So I definitely invite people to come and have a look. And then you could, of course, go through all the statements as well. So that is a little more information for this transformation of the stewards working group. I hope to have something for advice process of the stewards by the end of this week or the next stewards weekly. And hopefully then we could also move it to advice process for the community. Anybody want to share anything about this report before we move on?
Yeah, I'm a very highly visual person, so if I listen to these kind of things, I don't process information equally. So can you just briefly explain any of the any one or two conclusions that we got from the Polis?
Sure. So are you? Oh, I'm not sharing my screen. I apologize. I thought I was sharing my screen. I hope my computer supports this. So yeah, sorry, I wasn't sharing my screen this whole time. Why didn't anyone say anything? So essentially, you can look at this and see much more clearly, Eduardo, right? So there's a majority of opinion for some of these key statements, right? Like stewards should be compensated. Collective intelligence of the current stewards is important. There's a lot of support for creating this advisory board. And then there's areas where there are groupings. So there's 10 people who took the poll who have very similar answers across the board. And then a group of 7, we can ignore the group of 3. And then there's this area of uncertainty, which essentially means that 30% or more of participants didn't have a conclusive statement, whether they supported or didn't support this statement, they agreed or didn't agree with this statement, they passed on it. So things like stewards offboarding, stewards leading like only a steward leading a working group lead, being a working group lead versus anyone in the community being able to lead a working group. There's 47% of participants actually just passed on this question, so didn't have a decisive answer, whereas 35% said no, 17% said yes. And then transforming TEC structures, how it structures its stewardship being an urgent matter, seems to have very high support, but also 40% of participants just passed on that. And then,
sorry, go ahead.
And then the stewards should be offboarded based on their participation in the TEC over the past few months. There's also 38% of poll takers who didn't, who passed on that too. One of the more interesting things is if you go to this area here, you could see the statements that have a lot of consensus. So the majority of people, you can sort of see 60%, 70%, 64% will agree or disagree. So like a high percentage of agreement or a high percentage of agreement. And then the divisive statements is like, there's really no, like, there's like two camps, you know, there's half that agree, half that disagree, but there's not a lot of consensus there. So those are the areas that probably I would say need more attention before we can have, like, those are the areas in the proposal for the Stewards transformation that will probably be the most divisive in our community because there's two camps that feel very differently about them. Did that help, Eduardo?
Yes, thank you.
And this pool is really amazing for that, actually, just to see, oh, okay, these are the statements and these are the ones that are going to have the most challenges and going to have to be explained probably the best and have the strongest rationale, because many of these the communities already agrees on, at least this small poll of stewards and other people who took it. There's a lot of things we already agree on, but then the areas where we have really strong disagreement, I think, is the areas we need to focus on having clear rationale and being able to build sort of consensus there. Does anyone else want to share any thoughts about that report? Okay. All right, then moving on, the next Token Engineering Academy, Token Engineering Commons Intro to TE is happening on July 14th. And Nate has accepted to host. So even though it's a little early for him, it's not too early for him to take it on. So just putting that on everyone's radar. And data standardization, I'll pass to you, Septimus.
Oh, thank you, Tam. Yeah, basically, I just wanted to share a reminder to all the stewards that I sent, because actually no one figured it out yet. I know, like, Tam, you said, like, you will not do it, so it's okay, like, that's done. But the rest of the stewards that say they will do it, like, I just want to share, like Rex is doing the master sheet tomorrow, and then on Thursday we have a call just to add feedback and then share it with Sampo. So basically, like, if we get all the data, we will have already have all the data to present to the community. So it'd be nice, like, and again, it's not mandatory. Like, if someone doesn't want to do it, it's cool, but just let me know so we can keep things moving. That being said, it would be better if the working group do it itself, because especially for the categorization of the expenses and inflows and everything, like, the working group have better idea than myself, but I can still do it. Yeah, just wanted to share that.
Wait, Septimus, just to clarify, is what you're asking is for people to go look at that spreadsheet and make sure that the data, like the categories, are good for what they need? Is that what you're asking as the first step?
Oh, no, just like I already contacted all the stewards. So the idea is, like, yeah, start to like, and if you guys need any, like, DM me for any thought, or even, like, if we have to do a call, I'm open to that. But basically what I'm asking is to the stewards just to, yeah, get all the data in that sheet I already sent them to everyone. So
do you want to share the sheet? So we have time. Do you want to share the sheet now?
Oh, the thing is, like, every steward have their personal sheet because it's different for every working group. But I can share my screen.
Sure.
Wait, no, screen one. Oh. So wait.
And Septimus, what you're hoping is that people will start to move their working group data into the spreadsheet. Is that what you're
Exactly? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, basically, like, it's going slow. I don't know. Internet in the village is not working as expected.
Okay. Well, maybe we can come back.
Yeah, we want to come. Yeah, that'd be good.
Well, it is the end of our agenda, so I just want to open the floor to know if there's anything that anybody wants to share or add to the agenda, and or give an update from their working group.
Shall we talk about membership, Kirin?
Sure. Yeah.
Would you like to start, or you want me to start?
Well, you can. I'm either way. You. Why don't you do it, and I can jump in if there's anything else I see.
Okay. So basically, for the past Fridays and discussions, Septi, you are still unmuted. Just letting you know. So for the past weeks, we have been discussing the idea of what makes someone a TEC member, and being a TEC member means you have TEC tokens, or it doesn't, or what is the agreement for someone to be a TEC member. So we have been going through this many possibilities of this, and one of the things that we discussed, and I think probably we will use Polis, Gideon, to get opinion from the stewards. Maybe it's the best idea. But the idea in general is, like, I suggested that to be part of the TEC member, you will have to agree to our cultural layer, our governance layer, or our economic layer in a way. And all of these things will represent something in an action for that member or that newcomer to accept. For example, praise is part of the cultural layer and economic layer and so on. So agreeing to this kind of stuff, and then we will keep track of these things in a spreadsheet that we already use for the outreach and so on. So part of the things that they will agree to be part of the TEC member will be going through orientation call, do the community offering, sign the covenant, and being part of the praise system. So all that will make you a TEC member. And I think it's worth exploring this. And the idea is that we will receive feedback from you guys. What makes you believe it's a better approach to categorize what makes a member and what not. And this idea of this is eventually we will use this definition to sort of, maybe token gated options in Discord or not, and a bunch of stuff. I don't know if I'm making myself clear, Gideon, but go ahead. Correct me if I did said something wrong.
I think you got it. I mean, you cut out for me on like the for a second. Did he cut out for everybody, or is that just on my side?
I think it was just on your side.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, so in addition to, so the checklist of like what we would ask as like to be a membership, it's just to repeat it, it's praise activation, it's signing the covenant, it's doing this idea, and then doing orientation. And then the question, and I was talking to Olivia about this today, is do we also require holding the TEC token as part of that, even if it's just a nominal, even if it's just like one token or something like that. So that's one of the questions that is kind of floating around this.
Can you share, Gideon, or at least the link of the circles?
Yeah, hold on just one second.
I think that visualization is really helpful for everyone to understand. So my argument here was that we are talking engineering space. So for being, so being part of this community should be also involved in being part of what talking engineering is in a way, even if it's not consciously. And the idea will be that we provide the easiest access to be a TEC member. It won't be something like hidden or anything like that. But yeah, that's it. Septimus, you muted. Would you like to say something?
I was just going to say, when you were talking about the token holder, yeah, I really think like any member of the TEC should hold at least one token. Like, it's very cheap, and like if you don't have a token, like you cannot even vote. It's weird. Like, how are you a member and you cannot even vote? For me, you really need at least 0.5 token, whatever, but you need a token. You need to be able to vote.
Yeah, and the idea would be that by, for example, doing the community offering, joining the orientation call on all these steps, you will be praised. Therefore, you will have at least a fraction of a token, and that will make you an official TEC member, like a sort of a full circle kind of thing.
Is it worth me just explaining? I think this diagram is pretty self-explanatory, but in option A, it's really just simply put, in order to be a member, you have to hold the TEC token. There can be people who are speculators, right? Who are people who are not members. They haven't gone through the cultural layer and been oriented and all that stuff, and so they can still hold the token. But if you're a member, you hold the token. And in this scenario, option B, these are two different things, even though they have intersections. So you can be a TC member and not hold the token, or you can be a TC holder, token holder, and not be a member, or you can have that overlap. And so, yeah, I mean, some of the reasons for option A would be that it drives everybody having a stake in the community, like it really pushes that. It also would push more people to having a token so that they could vote on governance. The other thing that we were looking at is this part right here, this TEC member, we're looking at options for actually representing that as an NFT. So that we can do some things with possibly token gating parts of the Discord channel based on whether or not you hold that NFT, the membership NFT.
Does anyone have any strong opinion about having this concept for a member of the TEC? This will go to the forum and we will probably have a snapshot vote to confirm this version of this, but I just want to make sure that we receive feedback at least verbally here, since we all have you here. So I would like, if anyone has any strong opinion about it.
Sorry, I was slightly distracted, but it sounds like so you want to make a membership NFT that gives you access to some sort of channel feature or social feature?
We want to define first what is a TEC member, and then based on that common agreement, we can define the other stuff.
Okay.
For me, it's as simple as if you hold tokens, you're a member. If you don't hold tokens, you're not a member. Like you either vote or not, or you either have voting power, you either do not have.
There is a little tweak to that definition, Septimus. It's not about holding the TEC token. It's about the agreement that comes from being part of our community that will give you access to the TEC token. It's not the TEC token first and then you are a member. No, it's you're a member, and because you're a member, you gain the TEC token because you go through all the agreements of the covenant and all these parts. I'm trying, like, the idea of this is to think a little more complex. It seems a little more complex, but it also represents more the spirit of a token engineering community. I feel like it's a little bit silly to have a token engineering community that doesn't have this kind of very very deep understanding of what a member is and what it represents, and not only having a token. Because otherwise, we're not a token engineering community. We're just, very simple-minded community like any other.
But even if you create an NFT, I just want to, very quick. If you create an NFT or whatever process to say I'm a member, and if I don't follow this process, I can still grab my tokens, make a proposal, and if it gets enough conviction, just get the money out. So I don't know what's the goal with that.
I don't understand. I didn't understand that agreement, that affirmation, Septi, sorry.
Like you're saying, I mean, the second step should be having an NFT or for me, TC member is as simple as having the token, because people who have the token can make a proposal and then take money away if they have a good proposal. And would that person not be a member if they don't follow this second step that they might or might not? Anything we change, it should be in the code. Otherwise, it's just doesn't exist.
Can I share my thoughts?
Yeah. Go ahead, Lee.
Yeah, I was just talking about this with Gideon a few minutes ago. And I think both option A and option B are somehow the statement of our current situation. And option B is more so the statement of a problem. And then option A is a suggestion for how we can deal with that problem. The problem being like, oh, there are TEC token holders that are not engaged. So they hold the tokens, but they have never been to a call. They never participated in any project. They're not sharing their knowledge in any way, and et cetera, et cetera. And then the inner circle being people who are engaged. And then I guess what you guys are discussing is just what are some metrics to determine that someone is engaged or not. So this NFT would be almost like a badge of engagement. And then through that, we could have these two circles that are somehow telling us the relationship between these two things. They become measurable all of a sudden. So we can measure how many TEC token holders there are and how many engaged token holders there are. If the relationship is somehow like it is in this picture, it can be considered quite balanced. And maybe the purple line isn't culturally harming of the DAO because there's not enough people to do that. But let's say the inner circle shrinks and there's a lot of token holders who are not engaged in any of our cultural processes, then that could be a signal of a possible attack. And then for having signals of possible attacks, we could prepare for the case they happen. And then we just have a few solutions in case we reach that point, but we don't need to use them if we are in somehow an optimal balance.
I really agree with what Livy mentioned on that sense. It's like, it's just to abstract from the idea that membership is only about TC token. It's to go a little bit complex than that and to make sure that we, are prepared and have these things in place. Go ahead, Seb.
I just wanted to share, like, if someone is holding the TC token and is not participating, they are, they are trusting the people who's participating, and they are speculating. Yeah, it's like, of course it is. Like, you wouldn't put your money on somewhere or someplace you don't trust. Like, it is what it is. Like, people is putting.
A lot of people, the 271 people who engage as a hatchers, most of them engage because we had some relationship with them, or we build a relationship with them, or they trust something with them. But that's implicit that they will engage. But it's not implicit they will engage. So sorry, I will abstract and let everyone else talk. Sorry, Tom, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say I really liked the way you phrased that, Livia. And also, I think there's going to be token holders who want to hold tokens, who don't want to be TEC members. They don't want to be part of the community, and that's totally fine, and we should respect those rights. And then we have TEC active members who sign the covenant, activate praise, participate in Discord calls, and contribute in other ways. And we should also find a way to differentiate and respect those TEC members. And I thought this was a very elegant solution to do that. I've seen it evolve from the beginning to coming with the final criteria for TEC membership. So having seen it go along the way, it's maybe not taking me by surprise at all, but I thought it was a really elegant solution to respect these two different kinds of, we're all token holders, but there's some token holders that want to hold tokens and not activate praise or sign the covenant or participate in anything with the TEC. And I think we all coexist quite peacefully. I also really liked the idea that Livia had of it being a way of measuring the health of our token holdership. I thought that was a really important point that I hadn't heard before, so I really appreciated hearing that point.
And I'll just add one thing. When I look at this problem, what I see is that lots of DAOs have just plain token ownership as the signal of whether you're a member or not. But this DAO this commons is really different. Actually, we've invested a lot in this cultural build, right? Like we've invested so much energy into this, and yet right now there's no way of signaling that. You know, whether somebody has agreed to that cultural all that cultural, those cultural assumptions. There's no way of signaling that, and so a membership is like one way of doing that, right? It's like it's a trigger that, and an NFT is actually a pretty powerful way of doing that. It's like, you know, if you believe that permissionlessness is basically people agreeing to adhere to the protocols of whatever that entity is. Let's say it's a DAO. We've got protocols, but we don't have a mechanism for agreeing to those protocols. And so I think that's what we're trying to introduce here, is like a mechanism for cultural agreement.
So I think Zaptimus has a valid point of like, it feels like by calling the green circle members, we would not be calling the red circle members. And would that be more reasonable for you, Zap, if that was called like engagement badge, or if you had another name that was just descriptive of the action, therefore being more inviting also for them to cross the line to the green?
Yeah, totally. That would make more sense, because for me, like any token holder is a member. Even like they can vote, they can make proposals, they can do anything. So they are a member. Like they might not be an engaged member, but in the moment they make a proposal, they're engaged. So yeah, I really agree with what you said, Libby. That makes a lot of sense.
Some food for thought and good advice process to think about. Is there anyone else that wants to share any other thoughts about this idea of membership and what it means to be a member of the TEC? Or anything else that Eduardo or Gideon you want to share about this thinking and direction? Cool. All right. I really love this work. I guess I'll say the word member maybe doesn't trigger me so much. I think that maybe one last point I'll say then. I actually think it's an honor to be a member of the TEC, and that I think that creating a path to membership that encourages active engagement is very strategic for us. I appreciate this a lot. And Zep, the floor is yours if you want to go back to data standardization.
Okay, yeah, very quick. Yeah, basically, like this is like in this date column, we just add the date when the block cloud transaction was made. That's something we agreed on the last transparency call. And then yeah, basically like we put the Discord handles here with and make sure like we just copy those as they are in Discord, because if, for example, like acid laser is like in one sheet with minuscula, I don't know, like low, like this or this, will change the, like it has to be like the same for everyone, because otherwise it will be like two acid lasers in the master sheet where we put the salaries. And then yeah, basically like just putting outflows, inflows, and then the description of the activity. Any description can be added in the metadata. We decided like just to have more clarity on the category list, like we might have this tab closed. So any other member, like what we want to avoid is like every working group start using different categories. Like we want somehow having like some standard. And yeah, the idea is like, but anyone could ask to add new categories here, and then we will also be thinking how to make those more standard for all the working groups. And yeah, basically that's the sheet that we need everyone to fill so we can gather all the data. So yeah, like the only thing I'm trying to communicate here is if someone is doing it, like please start doing it, and if you are not doing it, just share and we get that done. But we really want to get that ASAP for sample. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Is there any working group that thinks they won't be able to do that for June? Maybe we can make a commitment to do it for June. Yeah, I guess is there maybe any working group that thinks they can't do that for June? I guess I just see comms, Communitas, Sampo, rewards doesn't have it. Cool. Right, cool.
Yeah, in rewards we will be adding the what's in the forum, but we will just grab it there for the rewards distribution. But Nagen and Mitch were posting every week.
Oh, I see. So you plan to add rewards as sort of like total compensation. So the idea, I see. Okay, interesting. Okay.
Well, it's the working budget, I guess, is the amount of TEC we use, but it's distributed in TEC and not XDAI, which is the common pool.
Yeah, but in this sheet you can put any token.
Right. So then the working budget for the reward system would be the amount that we requested from the initial buy in XDAI. Okay. And then that would be for our budget for like 8 months or something.
Yeah, but I think rewards, like we can do that. Like since you already are doing all the work of posting it, all the data is there. It's pretty easy just to copy paste and have it. Like we can do that, and it's pretty straightforward. But I think like for the working groups, it'd be nice if every working group just get theirs. And gravity is already done, but yeah, it's the only one.
Cool. We're at the top of the hour. Thanks everyone for your time today.
Thank you, Tom. Thanks everyone.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Bye.
They cleared out pretty fast.
See you later.
Bye.